There's something very special about the month of Elul, and that it is the preparation for Rosh Hashana, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, Simchas Torah. A month of preparation. What exactly are we preparing for? We're preparing for Rosh Hashanah. Yom Kippur is a byproduct, and Sukkot and Simchas Torah are byproducts of Rosh Hashanah. The main event is Rosh Hashanah. The main theme of Rosh Hashanah is coronation of our King. God says, if you want me to be king for another year, coronate me. Show me that you want. Because if you don't want, I am not a dictator. If you want me to be king, that's fine. But a dictator, no. So I will not impose my kingdom, my reign over you. Which means that we have to initiate the relationship with God on or before Rosh Hashanah. And then God will respond by inscribing us in the book of life. Once he accepts the kingdom, then he has to take care of us. Like the expression of the sages, if you acquire a servant, you acquire a master. Because once you have a servant, you're obligated. You have to feed him, you have to heal him, you have to protect him, you have to. So it's almost like making yourself the servant to the servant. So once God accepts to be our king, well, now he has to give us life, and he has to give us sustenance, and he has to keep us safe, all the good things that come with life. But we have to initiate. Unlike Pesach, where God initiated everything. He came to the people and said, it's time for you to leave Egypt. They said, I don't think so. And 4/5 refused to go. So it was all God's doing. He initiated the relationship. So he sent the plagues, and he sent messages to Pharaoh, and he split the sea, and he brought us to Mount Sinai, and he made food fall from heaven and water from a rock, and the cloud led it. God did everything. We just followed. But Rosh Hashanah is supposed to be the opposite. You initiate, you lead, and God will follow. So the question is, in what way are we initiating Rosh Hashanah? So the Rebbe introduced this idea that in the month of Elul, it's like a king coming out to the field where the workers are to encourage them and to greet them and to make himself approachable. Why does he do that? It's not a democracy. He doesn't need their vote. He's not stomping for the presidency. He comes out to the people because there's going to be a coronation. And he's encouraging the people to come to the coronation. Whoa, doesn't that mean that he's initiating? The reason the king comes out to the field is because he has the sensitivity, the insight. He knows that the people in the field would love to come to the coronation, but they don't feel worthy. They're not dressed properly. Their head is too caught up in the work. What do you do in a field? You feed yourself. You make sure you have what to eat. That's pretty
Earthy.
selfish, very earthy. And as much as they would love to go to the coronation, it's like they wouldn't fit in. What would I do at a coronation? Look at me. I don't even have the proper clothing for such an occasion. That's why the king comes out to the field to assure the people that not only are they welcome, but that if they don't come, there will be an empty seat at the table and it don't look good. So it's almost like the king is asking them to come as a favor to him. But what brings him out to the field? The people's desire, the people's longing. But that longing is buried deep inside. Other humans observing these workers in the field will swear that they don't want to go. They have no interest in going. Why should they want to go? Only God has the sensitivity to pick up those rumblings of yearning, and that inspires him to come out to the field.
Mm.
So, in that way, we are initiating,
Mm. Mm.
but it's a feminine kind of initiating. A woman initiates intimacy without saying anything, without any outward, visible, spoken indications. But if a man is in tune, he feels the yearning.
Yeah. It's funny you say this because I think a lot of people, myself included at times, approach the Yamim Norayim, the High Holy Days, with a great sense of dread, to be quite honest. Um, because, you think about Day of Judgment and Book of Life and Death, and it's very stressful. And I think part of that is comes from that sense of like, maybe I'm not so worthy. Maybe I'm in trouble. Maybe I definitely don't fit in God's plan. And if I do show up to God's plan, then I'm going to be in trouble.
Yes, was that way for many, many years.
Oh, I think it's still there. But it has less effect, I think. I think people are organically, naturally starting to realize, one sec, this isn't working, this approach.
Yeah. It's time we mature and start serving God like adults, not like children. Children are motivated by reward and punishment, but it's juvenile.
Mm.
Like one thing is very clear: fear of God is not the fear of hell. If you're afraid of hell, you're worshiping the wrong God because you're making hell your God. You won't do the sin because of hell. That's not God. That's not even serving That's self-preservation. That's serving anyone but yourself. So it's time that we outgrow that. Because there is reward and punishment. But that's not what makes your relationship with God real. On the contrary, if everything you do is for the reward and everything you avoid doing is because you don't want to go to hell, God has become completely irrelevant.
Or
So
completely unpleasant.
fear of God, which is essential to Judaism, Yirat Shamayim. I mean, that's like Judaism 101. But certainly Yirat Shamayim does not mean the fear of pain. There's nothing noble about the fear of pain. Every animal has a fear of pain. So that's for children. Children who don't appreciate anything higher, more noble, more idealistic. So you tell them there's a lollipop waiting for you, or you don't want to get grounded or sent to your room with your computer. But we're not children anymore. We're 3,300 years old. We're past our terrible twos. We're past our threes. It's time to become a mensch.
So what is Yirat Shamayim? What should it be?
Well, it's like a child who can't imagine disobeying his father. How do you not do what your father asks you to do? Not because of consequence, but because it's your father.
Right, right.
If your father has to resort to a threat or a bribe, this is not a family relationship.
Right,
For that, you can have a czar.
right. And it's so funny that people know this intuitively with any intimate human relationship. They know that the kind of fear that they would have there that's healthy is I wouldn't want to hurt the other. I wouldn't want to do something to disrespect that relationship or compromise that relationship. Not I'm worried about, being slapped or punished or something.
Yeah.
And I think the root issue that stops people from making this adjustment, because I think about it a lot, is they don't really believe that you can affect God or affect the way God feels or somehow hurt him or, understand that this is a dynamic, vulnerable relationship on both sides. I think that is my senses. I don't know if you agree, but my sense is that if you don't have that, then the only thing you have is reward and punishment because there's only one active partner in this relationship. But the second you make that crossing to say, actually, there's vulnerability on both sides, you're able to see it in that much more healthy and powerful way.
True, true, true. So there are things you want to do for your father because you love your father. And there are things you cannot do because how could you do that to your father? The things you want to do, that's part of your love. The things you can't do because you can't do that to your father, that's fear.
Mm.
Just that sensation, how could I? That's fear. Not fear of consequence.
Right, but
not
it's the
fear
fear
of,
of what would my how would my father what would he think? It would be so hurtful. It would be, and if you don't, but if you think that God, well, he's completely fine regardless of what you do, you're not going to have that same.
then you don't love him either. You're just taking him for granted.
Hmm.
Love and fear cannot exist independently. Like you can't have love without vulnerability. If you're not afraid of losing it, then you don't love it. If you love it, you're afraid of losing it. So fear means, how could I walk out on this relationship? How could I? That means something overwhelming, something more powerful than you is at work. How could I means I may even want to, but how could I? Love means I want to. So that's what fear of God would be, not fear of pain.
Hi, thank you so much for watching. To watch another one, click here. To stay up to date with all our content, click here to subscribe. And if you're able to, you can help support JTV to grow and grow by clicking join below this video, where you can become a member and get perks including early access to videos and private live discussions with me. But most of all, you'll be partnering with us on our mission to change the world.